one thing that I've been saying on the show for a long time is it's not just that we're worried about climate change and the utter destruction it could do to the planet and is doing to the planet as we speak right now. It's also that it bothers me that the oil companies, the fossil fuel companies that have contributed so much to climate change, keep all the profits and they socialize the cost to all of us. So it's like a smoker that's blowing smoke in your face nonstop. But I didn't ask for your cancer. You want to have cancer, that's your business. But don't give me your cancer. But the oil companies are doing it worldwide. Now, if they shared the profits and we all agreed to it and say, well, you know what, look, I'm gonna make an extra $10 this year or $100, but the planet's gonna last way shorter than we expected. Okay, that's one question, but that's not what happened. They took all of the profits and they put all the costs on top of our heads. So finally today, New York City is saying, not gonna take it anymore. I'm not gonna let you socialize all the costs. If you're making all the profits, you're gonna pay all the costs. So they launched a lawsuit. Now, there's two great parts of this story. So let's talk about the first one, which is the suit trying to hold these guys accountable. Washington Post explains, the New York City government is suing the world's 5 largest publicly traded oil companies, seeking to hold them responsible for present and future damage to the city from climate change. And there are real numbers and they're tangible, and we're gonna get to them in a second. The suit filed Tuesday against BP, Chevron, Conoco-Phillips, ExxonMobil, and Royal Dutch Shell claims the companies together produced, this is a stunning number, 11% of all of global warming gases through the oil and gas products they have sold over the years. Wow, 11% of the whole total is just those 5 companies. It also charges that the companies in the industry they are part of have known for some time about the consequences, but sought to obscure them. That's a different story we covered on the show a little while back, that ExxonMobil, back when it were 2 separate companies, especially Exxon, had all this research saying, yes, this is gonna be climate change, yes, it's gonna be man-made, yes, we're contributing to it. So let's not really tell people. So there is a lot of evidence about that. And look, luckily they're gonna go to court, they're gonna present that evidence. If Exxon has better evidence, they'll sort it out in court. But I think they're in a world of hurt, and that's why they're panicked about this case. I'll get to their statement in one sec. In this litigation, the city seeks to shift the cost of protecting the city from climate change impacts back onto the companies that have done nearly all they could to create this existential threat. That's the government lawsuit stating that. Seems very logical. You created the cost, you bear the cost. Capitalism, baby. So now, New York City is not the first one to do it, but this is a major case. Some cities and counties in California had already done it, and ExxonMobil had responded by saying that those lawsuits were, quote, a violation of ExxonMobil's civil rights. Oh yeah, I know, ExxonMobil, a veritable Martin Luther King. I don't know if you know this, you're not a person. There is no Mr. Exxon, there is no Mr. Mobil. Okay, you're a corporation, it is a legal fiction. Your job is to maximize profits and you have done it at our cost, but you don't have any civil rights. I know that the Supreme Court being taken over by corporate interests say that you are a human being now, but the rest of us do not agree. I've given countless speeches and I've asked all those thousands of people in all those rooms to raise their hands if any of them thought a corporation was a person or a human being. No one has ever raised their hand. No one, ever. I'm sure Mitt Romney would, I guess 5 guys in the Supreme Court would, and a whole slew of Republican politicians would. But the rest of us don't think you have civil rights. You have the legal rights that we chose to give you. You don't have any inalienable rights endowed by your creator. We're your creator. So it's about time we fought back. Now, more from the New York City government lawsuit. They say to deal with the future, with what the future will inevitably bring, the city must build seawalls, levees, dunes, and other coastal armament, and elevate and harden a vast array of city-owned structures, properties, and parks along its coastline. The cost of these largely unfunded projects run to many billions of dollars and far exceed the city's resources. Now, in the movie Inconvenient Truth, there was a scene where Lower Manhattan gets flooded. The right wing laughs, Manhattan getting flooded, preposterous. And Inconvenient Sequel just came out a little while ago. And in Inconvenient Sequel, you see in Superstorm Sandy where Lower Manhattan, including Ground Zero, gets flooded. So New York is saying, look, I already paid billions of dollars in damages. That's the damages I already had. and then I have to build all these new armaments and levees, etc. Well, who's going to pay me for that? Those are New York City taxpayers. Why should they bear the cost when they're not getting any of the profits? Okay, so Washington Post reports at a news conference Wednesday afternoon, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio focused on the devastation caused by Hurricane Sandy in 2012, calling it a tragedy wrought by the actions of the fossil fuel companies. He detailed 44 people who died in New York as a result of Sandy, as well as the estimated $19 billion in damage it caused. That is the face of climate change, he said. That is what it means in human and real terms. So that's fantastic that he points that out. Unfortunately, we're never going to get those lives back. And look, we're not Republicans. We understand that not one weather event defines whether we have climate change or not. But in aggregate, with all the hurricanes and the superstorms and the fires and the droughts and all that we have had and all the record temperatures over these last 20 years or so, it is clear that we're not going to get climate change later. We're getting it right now. We're in the middle of climate change. So it's about time again that somebody fought back. Now they fought back in a second way too, that's really important. Washington Post again explains about the lawsuit. In addition to the litigation, officials said they expect to divest up to $5 billion in investments from as many as 190 companies with fossil fuel ties, even as they promise to maintain their fiduciary duty to New York's pensioners. It's a great point. Why are we taking all this money from progressive areas like New York and California who don't agree to any of these fossil fuel companies' actions and then putting pension money into those companies? There's no reason to do that. There are plenty of companies in the world and plenty of way to make great return for those pensions. You don't need those particularly heinous companies. The fact they've withdrawn from that, and hey, look, if you're a conservative, you should love it. That's a free market. It's a free market talking. They talked with their pocketbook. They have every right to do that, and that's how you can make actually a huge financial impact. So this is a wonderful development. By the way, look, I know there are sponsors, but there's many great companies like Aspiration.com who have already withdrawn from fossil fuel companies and saying, hey, look, we're not going to put any money into those fossil fuel companies, and if you deposit your money with us, you can make sure that it is clean. They're not the only ones doing it, but there's now it's a trend. Some clean, progressive companies are doing it, and now governments are doing it with huge pension funds. And I think that it can make all the difference. So it's a good day in America now that the fight has been joined against climate change in a real way, in a practical way. You just watched a video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.